Welcome back to the show, folks. It's another great day to celebrate being American. No doubt about it. But there is a lot to cover today. And again, welcome to the Craig Bouchon Show. Go to craigbouchon.com and go to americaican.com. We're going to talk again today a little bit about what this is. And this one says it's a candidate oath, okay, and why they need to sign the oath and why we're going to sign the oath as well as citizens. And because that is what it's all about, folks. It's about us being engaged. And today we're going to get very, very engaged because somebody's coming on the show that you have to hear. It is a gigantic movement that is based right out of Tennessee, as a matter of fact. And it's going to talk about the Constitution and what this particular person and her organization is doing to push the education of the Constitution with the youth of this country. But before we get into all that, I want to welcome Eric Thompson, the producer extraordinaire. Are you there, sir?
I am. I'm looking forward to learning a lot about the 917 Society for sure.
That's right. 917society.org, folks. It is a big, big deal. And Eric, Eric is excited about today's show because it's about the youth too. We're going to be focusing in on, look, we have to get the American child, the youth, to understand why it's so important that they live under the U.S. Constitution. What our founders gave us, blessed us with, this formulation, this documentation that gives you and I not just freedoms, but protections. All right. So the protection of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights we've talked about on the show before. But what are we doing about it? How do we get engaged? Why do we see so much, things like shadow banning and you can't speak the truth without being chastised by this new woke movement? And if you try, what's my saying? The truth is not hate speech, folks. The truth is not hate speech. And the U.S. Constitution is the truth of liberty for American citizens. And the 917society.org is a fabulous organization. As a matter of fact, it's got some very, very big hitters involved. Some people you may not even know about, but you're going to know about them today. And Dr. Ming Wang, he is a world-renowned eye surgeon. To me, he's kind of, when you hear his story, they made a movie about his life. I think it's called Sight. Yep. Eric, I believe that's what it's called.
From Darkness to Sight is I think his life story.
It's his life story. And they're telling his life story because he comes out of China. He comes out of that great oppression. He immigrates to the U.S. and his story will remind you a lot about Ben Carson. Okay. What he came, up from the bowels, if you will, of this undercurrent in the U.S. of people who have a very, very tough life. And he made one of the amazing brain surgeons in the world. So let's play that video about Dr. Ming Wang. He's the president of 917 Society. Let's get that queued up and check this out, folks.
At the end, we should all recognize, especially the immigrants, and I'm one of them, that America has an immigration problem, but we don't have an immigration problem that starts with E. That means we don't have a problem where everyone wants to leave here, go somewhere else. We have the problem that everybody wants to come here to live here. And first of all, we need to think about why is that the case? Why this land attracts so many people from all over the world, myself included, to have chosen to live here. And the reason for that is the safety, the peace, the security, the freedom and choice that it provides. And what is the foundation for that? Is U.S. Constitution.
The U.S. Constitution, folks. Dr. Ming Wang hits the nail on the head as an immigrant who's built his life into something that they make a movie about. And that is exactly why the 917 Society has to exist. And Joni Bryan is a warrior out there battling to get the information to the youth of America so they understand what Dr. Ming was saying, that this is a special place. We don't have a line of people trying to exit the US. We have a line of people that want to come to the US. That's because of the power of the model of the United States of America. It may not feel that way right now with all the things that are happening, but it is true. The bedrock of this country is in our founding documents and through the grace of God. And I want to we got Joni. Is she queued in? I want to bring Joni right in. Hey, there she is. How are you? Let me get myself in frame.
Good
What are you
morning.
doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, just working away.
Well, I will tell you something. It is exciting to have you on. We just played the clip from Dr. Wang.
Yes.
And wow, when he talks about the U.S. Constitution is the big reason that people are coming to this country, that says a lot about America and its founding. So
Oh,
tell us a little bit about 917 Society and what do people need to know?
okay. Well, great. Well, I started this organization actually, Craig, because I had never read the Constitution. And so I kept trying to figure out why have I not read it? And as I started to do some research, I learned about a federal mandate that all schools that get federal funds are supposed to have a program on the Constitution. Now, this is K through 12. And I'm like, I never had a program. Did you ever have a program in school, Craig?
No,
Okay. Well,
did not.
nobody has, and so, or very few. And so I thought, wow, I've never read it, and I considered myself educated, but I had spent my early years as a social worker, and so, and my ex-husband was a teacher, and so, I thought I was involved. I voted, but I really, I'd vote and I'd just send people to Washington, and I really didn't think about it. But after I started reading it for myself, I actually had a person who I worked with. At a retirement community. He had been he had ran for governor in the 60s and been real involved in civil rights and different things. He was a constitutional lawyer. And we were always debating court cases. And one day he pulled out a constitution out of his pocket and he said, "My dear, when is the last time you read your constitution?" And so when he said that, I realized I'd never read it. And I thought, oh my goodness, why? And that started me on this journey. And so after I learned about the mandate, I started traveling around to social study teachers conferences. And I said, if you had a free program for Constitution Day, would you like it? And they were like, yes, yes, because so many of our administrators, our principals, our teachers, they don't know about the mandate. It's just
Well,
hidden in the 2004 Omnibus Act. It used to be Citizenship Day. 1959, it was Citizenship Day. And then it became Constitution Day in '04, but it's been around since 1959. And so after I found out, the teachers would love to have it, I thought, wow, okay, well, let's develop a program. And that's how the 917 Society was born. Our goal is just to honor and celebrate Constitution Day, and we choose eighth grade to focus on. In some states, it may be seventh, but most schools, it's eighth grade in the US because that's when in the curriculum they're supposed to have civics in depth. And here in Tennessee, we actually have legislation that makes the whole week celebrate Freedom Week. And there are a few other states like Texas that have that. But we're working to also get that done, nationwide. But just nobody knows about it. And we're trying to raise awareness. And so when we started our first year here in Middle Tennessee, we gave out 25,000 pocket constitutions to public schools, eighth graders in our Middle Tennessee area. Last year, over 1 million in all 50 states. And so, it's growing, but we're still struggling because we get blocked, like as you talked about, blocked, censored, shadow banned, all those different things.
well, let's talk about that for a moment. And plus, pull up the law really quick. Oh, here it is right here. I like this. Let's see. Eric, thank you for pulling that up. That's a post, Joni, that you all put talking about why is Facebook attempting to silence our efforts to educate children on the Constitution. And folks, this is law. This isn't like somebody just trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Okay, this is actual law. And pull up the law from the Department of Education, if you
Well,
would.
it's a mandate. It's a
It's a
mandate.
mandate. I apologize.
Mhm.
And what's the difference between that? Is that splitting hairs? Does it mandate means that they have to do it? They should do it? What is
Well,
wh
it's actually in the Omnibus Act of 2004. It was signed into that Omnibus Act, that law.
Okay.
There are a lot of controversies about mandates, but this was passed by Congress. So anything passed by Congress, I would say that's a
Well,
law.
yeah.
And
Well,
so it was passed.
absolutely.
Yes, it was passed by Congress. But the thing about it is just like two sentences. There's no funding for it. It basically just says all schools that get federal funds are to have a program on the Constitution on or around September 17th. And here's a website you can go to if you want some info. That's it. But it also, if you go more into the act, it also talks about federal employees. They're supposed to have a program that day, as well as all universities. So this is not
Really?
just for high school, but we focus on eighth grade. But this is, we need to let people know nationwide, universities, all schools K through 12 are to have a program. I mean, one day set aside to honor and celebrate our Constitution. I mean, we should be doing that. We should have been doing that for years and years and years, and that's why we're in the shape we're in now. Nobody knows the Constitution, and I was one of those people. So I'm not, fussing at anyone else. I'm
Oh,
talking to
sure.
myself.
Well, it's
I
by
didn't know.
design. It's by design. Unfortunately, the same people that are, in a sense, banning you or shadow banning are the same people that don't want people to know what empowers them as a U.S. citizen. It's like Dr. Wang said as well. There's people by the millions that want to come to the United States of
Mhm.
America. There's very, very few that want to leave the United States of America.
Mhm.
And it's because of the
Absolutely.
protections of the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And if you can get people to, if you can somehow stop people, citizens, from understanding the protections that they have, and you would not know if they're being taken away, right, or trampled on. We went
Oh,
through COVID. We
absolutely.
went through a lot of
And I
stuff.
was, Craig, I was one of those people. But when I started to read it for myself, and it's not hard to read, I actually had a U.S. representative when I first started this project. Uh, I met with him because I thought, I've got to get people involved. So I made an appointment. I went and saw him. And he told me, he said, nobody cares about the Constitution.
Yeah, the very thing that he swore he
Yes.
raised his right hand to uphold,
Hmm.
nobody cares about. And there's a lot to that, Joni. And you deal with it, and I've known you for quite some time, and I'm so glad to call you a friend. And I've been, folks, to these events that Joni puts on to help expand the message of the U.S. Constitution. It's some of the best news, folks, that you can have in your life that you were born with. It is the very thing that separates you from anywhere else in the world. And it's the greatest news in the world. And for some reason, some people don't want you to know about it. And it is a very dangerous time right now, in my humble opinion. So
Yes.
I'm very excited, Joni, that you're out. Now, it's not just you're out of the state of Tennessee, but you're all over the country trying to make this happen. You've been into Florida. Tell a little bit about the expansion, where you're at now, what you need from the folks. What other states are you focusing in on that you'd like to get going on? Talk about how people get engaged on it, how they can donate. We have the website right up here to show people how to get there. But talk about the vision of where you're at now and where you're going.
Absolutely. Well, we have started working. When we first started, we just planned on making sure all of Tennessee got their constitutions, and we've done that for the past several years. So our kids actually call them their blue books. They love them. And so our younger kids get excited because when they become eighth graders in Tennessee, they get a constitution for Constitution Day. So it's really cool. And so what we are working on now is, as we started to get this done here, I started getting requests from other states. So we started expanding. And our first year expanding, we went into 3 other states, and our next year was 16. Now last year, we had orders and constitutions delivered in all 50 states. students. But we reached over 1 million kids, but we have a potential of 6 million kids a year. Now, we serve public, private, and homeschool. We don't make any difference. So even though the mandate is all about public school because it's about public, federal money, we don't make any difference. So if a school contacts us and wants constitutions, if they're a private school or homeschool, that's okay too. But we do need help, because to get our message out, of course, we've got to be able to get it out. And we don't, we're small grassroots. We don't have a large budget, and we don't have a big marketing budget, so we can't buy advertising. So we wanted to start with social media. We have been shadow banned. We have been censored. We have been blocked. I've even reached out to our attorney general because we keep getting rejections on everything we try to put out. They say, oh, it's political speech. Well, the Constitution is not political speech. The Constitution allows us to be political, but it is not political speech, and it certainly doesn't violate community standards, which we get that a lot. And so we need help, because we're here. We've got this great organization. We've got this great service for our kids, and we love our teachers and our principals. And one thing I want to say, Craig, about the principals and teachers, I know right now, there's a lot of negativity out there, but let me tell you, we have got some amazing teachers, some amazing principals out there. They love teaching history. They love civics. They want to get this information to the kids. They feel like they can't say anything either because of the environment they're in.
Yeah, they're intimidated.
Absolutely, they're intimidated.
Some states, it's easier to talk about, something as radical as the Constitution, folks. In other states, if you feel like these people feel like they could be fired if they talked about the Constitution at their job.
And isn't that hypocritical?
It is. Well, think about this for a moment, folks. Listen to what Joni's saying. Let's really put our mind, let's wrap it around this subject. The very people that have the ability to communicate, like a Facebook, for example, it's because of the First Amendment to the Constitution. It's the very document that allows them to profit in the United States of America, to make billions of dollars, is because the First Amendment to the Constitution. These same people are not allowing you to learn about the Constitution. And we need to find out why. And Eric, real quick, I want to, the Attorney General and anybody else that's needs to get in on this, I want us to reach out to their office. I want to get them on the show. I want to get them to help us. Their job is to help people like Joni to get this accomplished. Because Joni, I got to say, and I'm a huge fan. Okay. And I have American. My whole. Here's my lapel pin. Right here. I'm a big believer in the oath of office. I'm a big believer in the U.S. Constitution, as you know, and I want people to take the oath. That's a very big deal, because it's about those people saying an oath to what? To uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show today, and I want to keep having you on the show giving updates. Will you do that? Will you just send me a text, give me a call. When you have an update, good or bad, let me know, and we're going to talk about it. And if you're trying to get help from certain offices, if you're not getting the feedback you're supposed to get or that you think that you should, please let the show know. Will you do that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I have found, and I think you may agree with this, Craig, but as I started to read it for myself, the Constitution, I started to realize that the things going on in our government are not the way our founders intended. And I think that is the big reason that we have people that don't want everyone to read it for themselves, because it's only 48 pages. And that same representative that told me no one cared about it also told me it was too complicated for the average person to read. And so, of course, I said, well, your oath of office is to uphold the Constitution, and I read it and I was able to read it, but what we do, we want to make sure our kids, not only do we want to have them to have the opportunity to read it for themselves, but we want to create a special moment in their education where they
That's right.
realize they're a citizen and this is their guidebook. Because with our Bill of Rights, with all of our wonderful liberties and freedoms, we have responsibilities. And
That's
I
right.
had fell down on mine. You know, I would vote, elect people, and just send them to Washington and assume. And you know what happens when you assume. And I would
Absolutely.
assume they would do what they're supposed to do. But as you read it for yourself, you realize our government was intended to be limited. You know, we also have all these checks and balances and things. So when we look at all what's happening right now, all these bureaucracies, these people aren't elected. The FBI, the
That's right.
DOJ, those people are not elected. And they are wielding way too much power in this country. And that's
You know,
what we're
on that
seeing.
subject too, a couple shows ago, Joni, we played a clip of Ted Cruz, really going after I think it was the deputy FBI director, and it said exactly what you just said. You believe, FBI, that you don't have to answer to the American citizen. You are acting like you don't have to answer to Congress. You're too big. You're growing. You've got to a point where you believe that you're above the
Mhm,
citizen,
mhm.
and
Absolutely.
and that's because exactly what you said. And this is why it's a big deal. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do every time somebody, with your permission, every time somebody signs the oath with us,
Mhm.
if they end up getting the plaque from us, I'm going to send a pocket constitution with it as well. Is
Oh,
that fair?
absolutely. We would love to do that. We would love to help educate everyone because what we're finding is as the kids get their Constitution, they take it home. We get requests from the parents for
Yeah, I
more
bet.
because they've not seen it. And the older siblings, a really quick story. We had a lady that moved here from California about 4 years ago, and her son, she stood up in a meeting and told me her son got his in 8th grade. He brought it home, and his 12th grade brother got so excited about the Constitution that when he went to college, he formed a constitutional group
That's
in
huge.
college because
That's
he was
huge.
so motivated. Because, you know, if we don't have the information, and it opens up on the Bill of Rights, so the kids get this Constitution, the teachers sign and date it,
Yep.
make it a really big deal for that day. And then it's got the Declaration. Of course, we've got the 4th of July coming up, so that's really important. We've got the Declaration of Independence, which, of course, we announced our intention, but then the Constitution is what keeps us free. And so we have the Constitution, the amendments, the signers, and then the very last page, which is the oath of citizenship. If you're
Beautiful.
born here, if you're born here, you didn't take this oath. You
That's
only
right.
take it to
100%.
become here. And so that's one of the problems we see, Craig, is our citizens just take for granted what we have here. They
100%.
don't even understand what we have in our Constitution. And until you read it for yourself, you don't realize and you don't see that the government is not functioning the way it was intended. And so we can use everybody's help. We don't take state or federal funds. We strictly rely on donors, and it costs about $25 to support a classroom. And we're in a big campaign right now trying to reach 10,000 people in this country that would like to donate $25 a month to help sponsor classrooms. That would give them about 12 classrooms a year that they're sponsoring. But that would give us a budget for the next year to reach 6 million kids.
Imagine that, folks. And now you can see why the synergy is so good. You know, the oath of office is not being, these politicians are not doing what they said they would do for us. No doubt about it. And we got to get the information out. And you have the citizen oath, and you have the candidate oath, and you have this synergy of this movement happening. And it's about you and I, folks. And $25 a month is less than $1 a day. That is how, you can't spend your money any better when it comes to educating the students, the youth in this country, than getting $25 every month going out there. That's basically a classroom, isn't it? About the
That's a
size of an
classroom.
average classroom.
Right, because one box of constitutions costs us $25 to ship. And
Okay.
so, and that's a 400, a box of 400. So if we're sending to a school, we're sending, that's just shipping. That doesn't include the printing that we've done, all the other things. So we've averaged it out. It's about $25 per classroom for each student to get their very own Constitution.
Yeah.
And so we've sent out, now we also actively pursue the schools. So we don't just wait for them to call us. We send out emails to principals and teachers across middle schools of America to let them know, because most don't even know about the mandate. They have no idea. And so we let them know about it. We let them know about the free program. They can order direct, but we also need parents and grandparents in each community. We like to get volunteers per county. You can go on our website. You can donate directly. You can volunteer directly. You can sign up for our newsletter. Every Friday, we send a newsletter out so you know what we're doing, where we're going to be. But we need volunteers. And right now, we've got some great ones with AMBATs across the nation,
Oh, yeah,
with
absolutely.
Moms for
Sure.
Liberty are involved. We've got Rotary, Civitan, Elks, Daughters of the American Revolution, Sons of the American Revolution. We've got all kinds of great civic and community organizations. We're nonpartisan, we're educational. We just want people who love the country and love the Constitution to get involved. We don't care about your politics. We don't care about your religion. We don't care about your sexual orientation or your gender. None of that stuff matters, because we have equality in this country. And that's something our young people are not being taught.
Yeah, I think it's
Everything is being taught about all this division being forced on us, but that was settled a while back,
that's right.
and what, 1969, I think it was, but the 14th Amendment settled that. And so we have equality. So it doesn't matter any of those things. All that matters is, as long as you are an American citizen, that's all that matters. We're all equal. And so we want to make sure our young people know that, because to me, it's abusive to teach children that they're victims, or to
That's right.
teach children that they're oppressed or the
That's right.
oppressor. That's
That's right.
abusive.
That's
And
right.
that needs to stop,
It does.
because we have our
Absolutely right.
Constitution.
Well, we're generating a victim society
Yes.
purposely, because those people who are victims, if you think you're a victim, then you think you need to be rescued, and then who do they want you to have to rely on? And that's these government sources.
Government.
And it goes back to what you said earlier, that the government has just gotten too big,
Right.
and the founders did not want a large government.
No.
The founders wanted the power to sit within the people. We are an inverted triangle. If we go back to the Federalist Papers, the reason the Federalist Papers didn't become the documents of the land is because too much power was at the top. And
Right.
so our founders said, well, wait a minute, we need to flip that triangle upside down and put the power within the people and the least amount of power at the bottom, which is the federal government. And then we haven't even talked much about the states. And when we have you back on, the 10th Amendment's a big deal.
Yeah.
Each state has its own ability to defend itself against the federal government. And whatever is not given to the states goes back to the people. It feels, though, to your point, that the power, if it doesn't come to the states, goes back to the federal government.
Mhm.
And that
Yes.
is not the way our founders set this up. So they need a victim class so they
Absolutely.
can perpetuate this misinformation and disinformation about
Mhm.
what it is to be an American citizen. The
Right.
power of being an American citizen is when you're born into this country, like you said, or if you're naturalized into this country, that is the biggest lottery that you could ever win in your life when it comes to you being able to fulfill your life and live a life of freedom.
Right.
And go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you mentioned about the 10th Amendment, our federal government holds states hostage with federal funding.
That's right.
And so that's one of the things, the bigger our federal government wants to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's this behemoth already.
That's right.
And so that is their goal. And so they try to usurp the power of the states, but truly our states have more power, but they've got to take it back.
That's
And
right.
they've got to be able to come fiscally responsible enough to say, we don't need your federal funds.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And that's not talked about enough, Joni. The fact
It's
is that as soon as you accept money from the federal government to do something, they have a 10,000 strings attached to it. And you're giving up, they're breaking the veil of that, if you will, that protection within the 10th Amendment. And they weasel their way in to say, okay, Department of Education, if you want money from us, then you're going to have to do things this way. And
Right.
part of that, unfortunately, has been, even though it's been 2004, where people, what this, we'll call it, in my words, a mandate going out there. You got to teach about the U.S. Constitution. Very little has happened. And
Right.
that's why 917 Society, folks, is there. And go to 917society.org. And with your permission, I'm going to run some ads and things like that at my cost. And just every time we promote stuff out there, I want to put a banner for 917 Society, because it's something that I think it has to grow and grow and grow and be in 50 states across this country. And tens of millions of children need to have that pocket constitution. Is that okay that we do that?
Oh, it would be absolutely amazing. And just think of the numbers. Think of the numbers. If we reach 6 million kids a year, in 4 years, those kids can vote. Do you realize
That's
that?
exactly right. 100%.
And we want our young people to be educated and understand, because I didn't, and I'm educated and I had no real clue of what I was supposed to be doing as a citizen.
That's
This
right.
is our guidebook, and our
That's
young
right.
people need to know. And so you think about that. In 4 years, that's 24 million kids.
Mhm.
These kids are going to be deciding our future. Those of us as we
Good,
get
bad, or
older,
otherwise.
these kids are going to be so let's make sure they're educated, they're informed, they know what our government is supposed to be doing and what it's not supposed to be doing.
That's right. I couldn't have said it better myself, folks. We talk about the Constitution every day on the Craig Bouchon Show. Joni, I love you. You're awesome. I want to have you back on. Please let me know. Reach out to Eric, the producer extraordinaire. When you run into to issues, let us know, because we're going to talk about it. We're going to reach out to those politicians that should be helping you and they're not. Will you please do that?
Absolutely, I will.
Well, there we have it, folks. Joni Bryan, 917society.org. Check it out. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about this great country, what it takes to save the republic. Thank you, Joni. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll be back, folks.
Made it right. Suddenly I see the light. Now when I'm walking home
Hi, I'm Ted Cruz. Craig, I wanted to send my congratulations on the launch of Be First in Media Studios. It's always an honor to be a guest on your program. A free and vibrant press is absolutely vital to our democracy, and it's heartening to know that folks like you are spreading the good conservative message of freedom and opportunity. Because of you, Texans not only have a great source of political news, but of fun and entertainment as well.
Well, wow. Every time I see that, that's a clip from quite a few years ago. You can tell Ted Cruz was a much younger man, and I can promise you I was as well. Welcome back to the Craig Bouchon Show. If you're just tuning in, welcome, and you missed, I think, one of the best segments that we've had with Joni Bryan, she's leading the effort with 917society.org. And so go back. This show is archived at craigbouchon.com, craigbouchonshow.com. And you're going to be able to watch that in its entirety. We'll break that out also into a snippet, if you will, so you can just watch that. So we got some things that we're working on to help get the education out to you, the information out to you that you need to make this a stronger republic, because the republic is at stake, folks. There is no doubt about that. In God we trust is at stake, folks. No doubt about that. And Eric, are you there? Eric Thompson, how are you, sir? You've got something pulled up here. Oh, yeah, this is very important. Tell us what you have pulled up.
Yeah, so the founders, and we have a lot of quotes, they were insistent that the Constitution had to be ironclad, closed, but it was created for people who agreed to live as religious people for the most part, because what John Adams told the Massachusetts militia on 11 October 1798, he said, this country will be the most miserable habitation in the world because we have no government armed with a power capable of contending with human passions unbridled, morality and religion, avarice, ambition, and revenge or gallantry would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a well goes through a net. Our Constitution was only made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to be the government of any other. And the founders were basically saying, if for people who want to live under liberty and fear God, this Constitution works. But for people who want to live lives of debauchery, and we see the progressive left, the Constitution doesn't have all the little variables to account for their workarounds. And that's one of the concerns I have. And Adams had with this idea of being angry and malicious and immoral. He said, no. We need to be a moral people that fear God to enjoy the benefits of the Constitution.
Well, think about that, folks. Thank you, Eric, for sharing that, because that really is where the rubber meets the road. And what's being attacked in the United States of America today? The very value system that Adams was talking about. The very value system of one nation having a belief in a higher power, in a God, in something bigger than man, something that also had a moral value system. Because it's like what he said, if the people are unfortunately have greed in their hearts, they will try to shortcut things. They'll try to take advantage of the weak. They'll try to attack the meek. They will, as these institutions get more and more powerful, if the people don't have a way to check the power of those institutions, then those people will not be free for long. And that's why we have, you have something pulled up right here, John Adams. Let me see that there. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Okay, and that's from the officers of the 1st Brigade of the 3rd Division of the Militia of Massachusetts. They put that out, let's see, that's the 11th of October, 1798. So when people say that, God does not matter anymore, God doesn't have a value, God is the oppressor, God is hate speech, the words in Scripture are wrong, it doesn't matter what Jesus said, those things are on purpose designed to destroy the republic. It's designed to get the citizens of this country to not have a moral compass. Because where's your moral compass at? Moral compasses come from believing that you're going to be held accountable to something, right? People, religion is all over the world, folks. You've got Hinduism, you have Buddhists, you have Muslims, you've got lots of things out there, folks. There's no doubt about that. But the uniqueness to the United States of America being formed from a Christian mindset is because of what has happened in the New Testament of the Constitution. That's true, but the New Testament of Scripture. The light. What business does darkness have in the light? Jesus came to us to give us the good news, but also a warning. Right? The warning is, if you don't heed what I say, bad things are going to happen. The only way to get to heaven is through me. But his words were of peace as well. And he had to deal with the powers and the principalities of that day and the flesh and all of that. There's no doubt about that. And we're dealing with the same thing today. So who's supposed to defend those liberties that have been given to us in the warning that Adams gave us? That's us, folks. That's the American citizen. And not every founder was a Christian. They were not. But they all agreed, who signed the Constitution, that the moral compass of Christianity is what had to be, or you could not have a country with that amount of freedom. And if you look around the world, look at China, Look at Iran, look at Iraq, look at Saudi Arabia. Look, I could go on and on. This whole list of countries. Now you can look at many countries in Europe. You can look what's going on in Canada right now. These are oppression. It's oppressive governments. Some are more oppressive than others. Some have been oppressive for thousands of years. Others are just becoming extremely oppressive, like Canada. Okay, why? Because that's what Adams was warning us about. If you don't have checks and balances from a Christian basis, and you're not paying attention, as Benjamin Franklin said, we have given you a republic if you can keep it. It's all connected to you and I, folks. We are the one that keeps the check and balances. You know, Eric, and that's why it's so important that you pull these things up, because the fact is, most people, it's like Joni said earlier on the show, it's really out of sight, out of mind. And since 2004, the Constitution has been mandated for people for schools to teach, and it still hasn't got much traction.
Well, Thomas Jefferson said it is every American's right and obligation to read and interpret the Constitution for him or herself.
That's right. Folks, for years, when I was doing radio in Austin, Texas, 10 plus years ago, I would say on air, folks, the world is upside down and I'm tired of the blood rushing to my head. And the most important thing that you can read after the Bible is the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Because to me, they're directly connected. It is the weapon against the enemy. It is the weapon against the devil. It's the weapon against anything or anyone that wants to oppress you and I and put us, to quote Biden, back in chains. Well, there's many types of chains, folks. We can visualize the chains of the slave, which is horrific, but there's also other chains. There's chains of your health care, how you get your health care. The freedom in this country to get health care is very limited. We're not using the breadth of the capability of the free market. Perfect case in point is healthcare. You can't buy healthcare across state lines. Why? Well, it's because it helps the people who sell you healthcare, and it helps put power in certain people's hands, and it doesn't empower you. And the reason that you're oppressed and have the chains of limited opportunity of healthcare is because people who have been voted into office have allowed it to happen. They had to pass legislation that gives you less power as a citizen of the United States of America. The power of being in the United States of America is that you have the breadth of all the states to deal with. That's why it's not like Europe. And Europe has failed miserably when they said, well, you know what? You can walk across from Italy to Spain you go over to Germany, and you can. We're gonna divide. We're gonna get rid of all the borders. You can just walk across. Well, that didn't work out well because cultures are so different, and they're having a huge problem in Europe right now. The United States of America was born that you could walk across a border and not show your papers. Every state, folks, is a petri dish. Every state is part of the union. And I can drive right now from Texas to Arkansas to across the entire country, and I don't have to stop at a checkpoint and show my papers. And the magnitude of the United States is huge geographically. But people have been put in power, putting the chains and the restrictions on our liberties by passing legislation that says, well, you can drive from Texas to Arkansas, but you can't buy healthcare across that same line the same way. And that's the problem. Things like that. And our founders gave us the power to push back. And the way we do that in a representative republic is what we talk about every single day on the show. We must unite, and it's through our voting system that we can look. We're going to focus, especially going into this election year coming up, 2024. we know that if we don't get our act together and formulate a very powerful movement, it's going to be very hard even to win in 2024. The enemy is still there, folks. No doubt about it. What's it we got pulled up here from Fox News? Federal court delivers major blow to Biden's radical equity agenda. Here's the goal of the equity. Let's see. Biden administration.
Yeah. So basically,
Go ahead.
this is. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is because of the Constitution. A judge in Texas said that the Biden administration cannot offer benefits only to people of color, and the people with white skin are prevented from benefiting. And so the judge had to remind the Obama administration, the Biden administration.
Joe Biden is correct.
He had to remind them that the Constitution demands equal treatment under the law. Thus, your minority business development agency is unconstitutional. Without the Constitution, then they could court any voter they want in any racial group to get their votes, and taking away any opportunities from people not deemed to be their target market. So this is the power of the Constitution. Still in 2023, even though we have all this frustration, it's still in force in the United States.
Absolutely. We're looking at Fox News. Look what's going on with them right now.
That's right.
Perfect example of oppression, right? Fox News, what they've done with Tucker Carlson and Dan Bongino and many, many others. Okay. And the irony is that they're posting on their site the very thing that them as a company is oppressed. They're oppressors. So it's ironic that that's happening. And we have to point that out sometimes just like that. Look, here's Fox. They're talking about the very thing that they're doing the opposite of is what the Constitution is trying to protect in minorities, for example. Or that white people are equal with black people, and black people are equal with Asians, and Asians are equal with people from India. It's the equality, folks. And I think off that point, Eric, that you're making is that the enemy of this country is trying to divide and conquer us. They're trying to divide us into tribes. They want us to not like each other, so we have tribal warfare. I mean, is that a fair statement, Eric? That's what it feels like to me.
I believe that they if they can get a low educated on American civics and history majority, they can do whatever they want with us.
That's right.
And that's why it's so important that the 917 Society gets the youth to understand their rights, because they're not going to get taught it by most schools.
That's exactly right. And when we come back from break, real quick break here, you're going to see some stuff there on Cost Club. What's Cost Club? Cost Club is, I love one of the banners that they have, one of the commercials they have is, stop buying things from people that hate you.
That's right.
That's it. We feel like we're forced to buy from just a limited number of organizations, but you're not. Cost Club is out there, a growing independent online source for you to get your goods from, many different types of goods. And then we got the Spreely Network as well. One of our partnerships with this show is with Spreely. You have Spreely.tv, you have Spreely, the app as well, which is similar to a Facebook/Twitter type of scenario. Another small, growing, grassroots organization that doesn't allow you to be canceled. Okay, that's a fact. And so we're going to go to a quick commercial break, let them share their information with you, and when we come back, Eric, I know you've got more things on deck, so I'm gonna focus on those. And if there's questions every show, I like Eric to be able to just throw questions at me. I don't know what they are, folks. I have no idea what they are, and I like that. So at least I can give you my opinion on it. And we're going to talk a little bit about American, okay? Why I'm wearing this lapel pin. This is what you want to look for, folks. This is what you want to look for in the future on your politician, that lapel pin. I'm going to tell you why when we come back. See you soon.
if you study history, in particular, just most recently, you look at what happened in Russia, the Russian Revolution, right? Alexander Solzhenitsyn teaches us, and history teaches us, the issue of the day was getting rid of God first in order for communism to take over. You go forward a few years later in history with Adolf Hitler. What was the first thing the Third Reich was doing? Was silencing and getting rid of the church, God, if you will. And now what we're seeing in the United States of America is the exact same thing.
Amen.
Let's get rid of God, because if you can get rid of God, if you can silence and weaken the church, then all of a sudden the satanic plan for globalism to happen around the world has a much better chance.
Sure.
The hope of America is churches filled with people.
Well, welcome back, folks. Craig Bouchon Show. That was Steve Berger. Yeah, ASI. Gonna get him on the show. We play his clip a lot. Why? That's a powerful, powerful clip. He's talking about what's going on in the world to crush the United States of America. The demonic movement about making it a global world. Okay? I don't think that's what God wanted. I don't think God wanted the whole entire world under one regime. Eric, what do you think about that in Scripture? Do you anywhere that you see in Scripture that God wants every country to be under one world order?
No, God wants people to make him Lord and to worship him, and it's his. He owns everything. So if God owns everything, he doesn't need a country. We've been blessed as a people, but like you quote all the time, but are we going to allow it to be taken from us because of our immorality? If we to keep the republics difficult, because we have to go against our sin nature. So
it's true, 100% right, and that's why I love seeing people like Steve Berger out there with ASI, because he's talking about it from the religious perspective. You know, from as a minister going out there and fighting, telling people, warning people, look, this globalist idea is the destruction of the republic, folks. This no borders idea, which you can see in the southern border right now, ladies and gentlemen. You can see what's going on in the Arizona border, California border. You can see what's going, just rushing through the entire United States. This rush of people that are illegally coming across our border, acting like our border does not exist. While all this is happening, we have leaders that have taken the oath to uphold the Constitution and our sovereignty, saying that the border's fine. Here we go. We got something posted up right here. We see Border Patrol sets record with 29 terrorism suspects encountered in May. And those are just the ones that they caught. I absolutely believe, as we are here today, folks, that sleeper cells are being built in this country by our enemy. I absolutely believe when you see these prime combat aged men coming through the border alone, there's not children with them, okay? They're not carrying luggage with them and dragging. They barely have a backpack on their back. And then where are they going? Where are they going? Where are they? Why is this happening? And it's happening because of what Steve Berger said. It's a demonic movement. And while we're getting lambasted with all of these attacks, we don't have that's the whole point of the federal government, by the way, folks, is as the American citizen is getting attacked at war, and that's what we're at. We're at war. We're in a spiritual war over everything, by the way. This is a spiritual war. We are living Scripture still today, ladies and gentlemen. Our government is designed to protect us from attack. But like Steve Berger said, it is now happening where the government is now a part of the attack. That is a problem. The two-tier justice system right now, two-tier justice, Trump was right. DOJ gave serial criminal and pervert Hunter Biden a slap on the wrist after committing major international financial crimes. Trump gets 100 years for bogus document charges. So that's right, 100 plus years, by the way, if he gets convicted for some document charges. And you have the things that have been going on with the Biden family and with Hunter Biden, you get a slap on the wrist. That is a two-tier justice system, folks. And that is because we have people in power that have been allowed while you have been very, very busy trying to survive and live your life. It's harder for you to make ends meet today. You're paying more for fuel. You're paying more for food. You're paying for more for insurance. You're paying more for rent. You're paying more for interest rates on everything that you buy. And that is designed. That's specific and exact, ladies and gentlemen. It is designed to make you weaker. It is designed that so you can't fight back. If you're so busy trying to survive, how could you take the time to fight back? The average American today, folks, isn't even raising their child. The average American is dropping their child off at a daycare center to be raised by people that don't love them. And too many of those people have an agenda themselves. They know they're going to have your child for a majority of their youth. Okay? So what are they doing? That's where the indoctrination can happen as well. So that's the breakup of the family. And why are so many children being dropped off at daycare centers? Well, there's a few reasons. One biggest reason is that two people have to work. And two people have to work because society is so expensive now, and this abundance of America, with America who has a breadbasket that could feed half the world, we have food that's so expensive that people are working sometimes several days, up to a week, just to have groceries for that month. That is a problem. So you would say, well, how is that happening, Craig? It's happening because the people that should be empowering the breadbasket to be opened up, to be farmed by American citizens, to bring inexpensive food of quality to the American citizen is not being allowed to happen. We could grow oranges right here in Florida and get really cheap oranges, okay? High quality oranges, but we don't. We import them from other parts of the world. So the American citizen has every asset that they need to have to live an abundant life and to help the people that are oppressed in the world. But it can only happen by keeping those oppressed people where they're at. Because those oppressed people, as bad off as they are, they're the higher rung citizen in those countries that they're leaving. Because they actually have the capability to pay money to a coyote to get them into the US. So what does that leave back in those countries? It leaves people that have less means than them, who don't have nearly as much as those people do. So how are they ever going to build their country up? They're not. All we're doing is supporting the degradation of these countries by allowing these people to come in by the millions, let alone allowing terrorists to come across, because they're taking advantage of the very, very bad business model of the United States of America. We should be helping these people where they're at. We should go in and do the best we can to help people where they're at, not have them come into the United States of America, because that weakens their society. So, folks, as you know, every single day on this show, it's about empowering you. It's giving you the information that you need to know. It's about trying to condense it down so you can get a lot of information in a shorter amount of time and consume it and then go do something about it. And what you're going to do about it. And you got to go there today. And I've showed this, at the beginning of the show. We're talking about the oath. This says candidate oath. There's a citizen oath. There's the American pin right here, all right? You got to imagine a day, ladies and gentlemen, where tens of millions of people have went to AmericaICan.com. You've signed the oath. You've got the plaque. You're hanging it on the wall. You talk about it with your children. Okay, you show it off. Put it out there on social media, on Facebook and Twitter and Spreely and Twellet, and put it out there. And send a email to your politician and say, you need to sign the oath. And then you're going to look for them to be wearing this lapel pin, folks. This federal mark is designed to empower you. It's to unite us, to make us the largest connection of American citizens to change the federal government, to empower those good people in government to keep doing what they're doing, and to get rid of those politicians that are not doing what they're supposed to do, folks. That is the only way that we can win, is by working together. And as we grow this show, and we have more people on this show, like Joni Bryan with the 917 Society, and we're going to have many, many others on the show talking about the same exact subject, saving the republic. It takes all of us, ladies and gentlemen. We've got about 20 seconds left. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Again, go to AmericaICAN.com, go to CraigBouchonShow.com, check out the Spreely Network, just Spreely, SPREELY.TV. Check that out. We air every day, as you know, Monday through Friday from 2 to 3. I believe it's Central Time. And look, we're all in this together, folks. There's no way out except together. And we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Thanks so much. God bless.